One of the things that I come across with the prophetic is there's this, we talked about this with the Old Testament versus New Testament, where people are feeling the need to be the voice of God for other people, or other people want them to be the voice of God. And Paul makes this fascinating statement in 1 Corinthians 13:9. He says, we prophesy in part. In other words, this actually, I think, has three different ways we can think about this. One is, we are imperfect. We don't get it. We don't get the whole picture. We don't get everything. And so it's not on us to get it all, because we're learning. That's one piece. But the other thing is, and I've said this before, we're not supposed to be the voice of God for other people. Our goal is to jumpstart their conversation with God. So we prophesy in part. But there's more. In the context of 1 Corinthians 13, he's talking about love. In other words, we're not the full revelation of who God is. We're not the full revelation of Mr. Love. We're not there all the way. And so I like to put it this way. The image came to me of this is, imagine my friend who wants to propose to his girlfriend. He says, hey, could you get her to come outside onto the porch? I'm going to propose to her. And I walk in and I go, hey, my buddy wants to propose to you. Would you get out here? And that would be ridiculous. That would I totally ruined it. Why? Because I jumped into a place that wasn't mine to fill. Our goal is to lead people to Jesus, right? And so there's that part where we're trying to step into the role of God. We're trying to be, trying to say everything, and that's not our role. The final piece, though, is that a lot of times people are asking the prophetic to tell them what to do, to be directive, do this and do this and do this. And people say, thus saith the Lord, and God says to you, whatever. And I always like to come in incredibly gentle based on the first two things I said. I like to say, I kind of feel that maybe God might be saying, right? Instead of saying God said. Now, the reason why is because when God speaks through you, you don't have to prove that it's God. You don't have to add a little extra emojo and a lot of emotion to it to make it powerful. In fact, what power can you add to God's power? None. But when God speaks, it brings effect, right? When he said, let there be light, what happened? Light didn't go. I'm so sorry, I couldn't hear you. What was that again? Light was immediately powerful, right? So when God speaks, it brings an effect. But even in that, God is gentle, right? This is my third part of what it means in part. God speaks in such a way to initiate conversation, right? It's two-way. One part, your part, my part, your part. So even in our conversations with God, we hear in part because a part of our part is to respond. And so God says, let there be light. He's gentle. He's gentle. Let there be light. I dug into the Hebrew today. There's such a gentleness to it. He said, allow it to be. So the other part of it is, though, look at when Jesus says, even gives a command. He says to Peter and Andrew and James and John, he says, come follow me, right? That's a command. But how does he do it? He says, come follow me and I'll make you fishers of men. In other words, it's a conditional command. If you want to become a fisher of man, follow me. Put it another way, he says to so many of the paralytic and the lame, he says, take up your bed and walk. If you want to walk, take up your bed. There's a gentleness in God that that oftentimes I see missing when we try to step into this place of being God, saying God says, and you should do this and do that. That's not our role. Our role is to lead people to Jesus and let him take over. We prophesy in part. The rest belongs to him and to the person that we've led to Jesus. So I don't know if that makes any sense, but love you guys. Have a great day.